Most people are living every single day carrying the weight of the past, dragging around the mistakes, the failures, the broken promises, and the excuses. And here's the truth. As long as you keep holding on to that old version of you, you will never step into the life you are meant to live. You can't paint a masterpiece on a canvas that's already filled with scribbles of doubt and fear. You have to erase it. You have to strip it clean. Think about it. Every time you say, "That's just who I am. I've always been this way." What you're really saying is, "I am married to my limitations. I am loyal to my old identity." But your old identity doesn't serve you. That old life is built on patterns, on stories, on beliefs that were never even yours to begin with. Maybe they were given to you by your parents, your culture, your failures, or your fears. And as long as you let them define you, you're trapped. To rebuild, you must first demolish. You don't remodel a house on a rotten foundation. You tear it down and lay a new one. The same is true with you. You've got to let go of the comfort of the familiar. You've got to stop rehearsing the pain of the past. You've got to burn the bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. Because the only way forward is to create a new version of you. One that is designed, not inherited. The question is, who do you want to be, not who have you been? But who do you decide to be right now? That's where the power is. You're not your history, you're your decisions. You're not your past, you're your choices. And every moment is a new choice. Every single moment is a chance to say, "The old me is gone. I erase the fear, the doubt, the guilt, the patterns that kept me small. And I step into strength, into courage, into possibility." Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's uncertain. But that's the price of transformation. If you want a new life, you must be willing to give up the old one. If you want to fly, you've got to cut off the chains. The old version of you is the prison. The new version of you is the key. So right now, decide, not tomorrow, not someday. Now, erase the old life. Stop feeding it. Stop giving it oxygen. Stop identifying with it. And begin to consciously design who you want to be. Your habits, your mindset, your emotions, your standards. Rebuild your life brick by brick, belief by belief, action by action, until the person you see in the mirror reflects not your past, but your vision, because your new life will cost you your old one. But that's the best trade you'll ever make. You cannot create a new life while holding on to the old identity. You must erase it completely before rebuilding. That is the fundamental law of transformation, because you cannot step into the future while your feet are chained to the past. Most people try to change by layering new habits, new affirmations, new routines on top of the same limiting identity. But identity is the foundation. If the foundation is cracked, if it is built on doubt, fear, guilt, or low standards, no matter how beautiful the structure above looks, it will eventually collapse under its own weight. You cannot build a new you while secretly clinging to the old stories that shaped you, the old wounds that defined you, the old excuses that protected you. That's like trying to climb a mountain while carrying a backpack full of rocks, and then wondering why progress feels impossible. Erasing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending your past never happened. It means stripping away the attachment, the identification, the meaning you've given those experiences that keep you tied to who you were. It means saying yes, this happened, yes, I failed, yes, I hurt. But those events are not me. They are not my identity. They are simply chapters in a book that is still being written. Erasing is a conscious act of release, and it requires courage because the old you, no matter how painful, is familiar. There is comfort in predictability, even if that predictability keeps you stuck. To erase is to step into uncertainty, into a blank canvas, into the terrifying but liberating reality that you get to decide who you will become. And here's the challenge: the old identity doesn't go quietly. It whispers in your ear, telling you that you can't change, reminding you of the times you fell short, pulling you back to familiar habits and environments. It will disguise itself as your personality. It will hide behind phrases like "this is just how I am," or "people like me don't succeed." The mind clings to identity like a life raft, even if that raft is full of holes. That's why erasing is an act of discipline, an act of persistence. Every time the old identity resurfaces, you choose again. Do I feed this old story, or do I let it die? Do I rehearse this old limitation, or do I write a new script? Erasing is not a one-time event. It is a daily commitment, a relentless decision to let go of who you were so you can embrace who you are becoming. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a chalkboard covered with scribbles. It's messy, chaotic, filled with words written years ago by other people, by past experiences, by fears you never asked for. If you try to write your vision, your goals, your new life over those scribbles, it won't be clear. It will be distorted, confused, mixed with the clutter of yesterday. But when you take the eraser, when you wipe that board clean, suddenly there's space. Suddenly the canvas is open, the possibilities endless. The chalkboard of your identity works the same way. Until you wipe it clean, the new you will always be blurred by the old you. This is why people stay stuck in cycles. They set new goals, they make resolutions, they promise to change, but they never touch the core identity. They never erase the old image that whispers, "You're not disciplined, you're not enough, you'll never keep this up." And so they sabotage themselves, not because they lack desire, but because they are trying to build a skyscraper on top of a crumbling shack. Identity always wins. Your behavior will always align with who you believe you are. That is why the first step is erasing who you no longer wish to be. Now, the moment you decide to erase the old you, you open the door to the new, but understand this, the new life cannot coexist with the old one. One has to die for the other to live. If you want to step into strength, courage, and growth, you must let the weak, fearful, and stagnant version of yourself fall away. That requires honesty because sometimes people want change without sacrifice. They want a new life without releasing the old one, but it doesn't work that way. You can't be both. You cannot be the person who clings to the past and the person who creates the future at the same time. You must choose, and choosing means action. It means letting go of the environments that reinforce the old you, the relationships that hold you in old patterns, the routines that keep you repeating yesterday. It means burning the bridges that keep you tied to the shore, so you have no choice but to sail into the unknown. Erasing is about refusing to negotiate with your old limitations. You cannot flirt with your past and expect to stay loyal to your future. But here's the power. Once you truly erase, once you strip away the old identity, you tap into an unlimited freedom. You realize you are not defined by what happened. You are not chained to what you once believed. You are not limited by who you were yesterday. You become possibility. You become a creator. You become free to design a life that is built on vision instead of memory, on courage instead of fear, on growth instead of comfort. And in that space you rebuild not by accident, not by inheritance, not by default, but by conscious design. Erasing is the hardest part because it feels like a death, but it is also a rebirth. The old identity must be buried so the new identity can rise. The old life must be released so the new life can be built. And when you commit to this process fully, when you stop carrying the weight of who you were, you discover the truth. You were never the old you. You were always the potential waiting underneath. The erasing doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. Your past does not define you. Your decisions in this moment do. Most people carry their past like a heavy chain around their neck, letting every mistake, every failure, every disappointment become the lens through which they see themselves. They believe their history is their destiny, that because they've struggled before, they must struggle forever, that because they failed once, they are doomed to fail again. But life doesn't work that way. The past is not a prophecy, it is a record. It is a collection of moments that no longer exist except in your memory. What creates your future is not what happened yesterday, but what you choose today, right here, in this moment. Every second is a chance to break the chain, to step outside the story you've been telling, and to declare a new standard for who you are. The trap is believing that because your past feels so heavy, it must control you. But the truth is, it only controls you if you let it. People repeat patterns because they rehearse them. They keep reliving the pain, rethinking the mistakes, re-experiencing the shame, and in doing so, they strengthen it. Your brain doesn't distinguish between a memory vividly replayed and an event happening in real time. So every time you dwell on the past, you carve it deeper into your identity. That's why it feels like you are stuck. But the moment you decide, genuinely decide, that the past is not the author of your life, you open a doorway. You realize your identity is not a fossil set in stone, it is clay, and clay can be reshaped by the choices of today. This is the power of decision. A single decision has the ability to rewrite the trajectory of your life. History is filled with people who were told they would never succeed, who grew up in poverty, who faced rejection after rejection, who failed over and over, and yet at some point they made a decision. They chose not to be defined by what had been. They chose to act as if they were someone new, someone greater, someone capable, and from that choice their lives transformed. It wasn't the past that determined their greatness, it was the decision in the present. That same power is in your hands right now. You are not your failures. You are not your mistakes. You are not the labels other people stuck on you. You are the choice you make now. You are the standard you raise now. You are the action you take now. That is the freedom of being human. You are not bound to live as a continuation of yesterday unless you allow yourself to. And the moment you embrace this truth, the chains fall off. Suddenly, the story of your past becomes fuel, not a cage. It becomes something you use, not something that uses you. Of course, the past will try to speak. It will whisper in your mind, reminding you of the times you didn't follow through, the times you were hurt, the times you quit. It will try to convince you that because you were that person once, you must always be that person. But that is a lie. That is the voice of fear, not truth. You are not condemned to repeat yourself. You can choose differently right now, and in choosing differently, you begin to create a new pattern, a new identity, a new life. Decisions are the chisels with which you sculpt your future. Think of it this way. Every moment is a fork in the road. On one path is repetition, doing what you've always done, thinking what you've always thought, getting what you've always gotten. On the other path is change, choosing something new, stepping into discomfort, deciding to no longer settle for what was. The choice may seem small in the moment, waking up earlier, speaking up when you usually stay silent, pushing yourself when you'd normally quit. But over time, those small decisions compound. They build momentum. They reshape you. And as you continue to choose differently, you begin to believe differently, and soon you become someone new entirely. The beauty is that you don't need permission from anyone to make this shift. You don't need validation. You don't need someone else to tell you're worthy. All you need is a decision to no longer be held hostage by a past that no longer exists. A decision to focus your energy not on what you cannot change, but on what you can. A decision to stop saying someday and start saying now. That's where transformation begins. Not in the future, not in waiting for the right conditions, but in deciding now. And here's the truth. Every great life is built on a series of bold decisions. People don't stumble into change. They don't magically wake up one day different. They choose. They choose to take control of their thoughts, to take ownership of their actions, to raise their standards. They choose to stop making excuses, to stop hiding behind old stories, to stop playing small. And once they choose, life begins to bend around their decisions. Opportunities show up, strength shows up, growth shows up, because they decided to step into the arena and live as the person they wanted to be, not the person they had been. Your past may have given you scars, but scars are not shackles. They are reminders that you survived, that you endured, that you have the power to move forward stronger. but they are not definitions of who you are. Who you are is written by the decision you make in this moment. If you want to become more, you can. If you want to rise above your history, you can. If you want to create a future unlike anything you've ever lived, you can. All it takes is a decision strong enough to silence the voice of the past and declare the truth of the present. And when you start living this way, something incredible happens. You stop fearing the past because it no longer defines you. You stop fearing the future because you know you can shape it. You live in the power of now, knowing that every choice is a seed, and those seeds will grow into the life you desire. You become the author, not the reader, of your story. You stop being a victim of what was and start becoming a creator of what is. Transformation requires demolition. You must tear down limiting beliefs, habits, and stories before constructing a stronger foundation. You cannot build something extraordinary on top of weakness, fear, or doubt, because whatever is underneath will eventually rise to the surface and sabotage everything you create.
This is why so many people try to change and find themselves pulled back into the same old cycles. They never address the structure beneath their lives.
They want the new life, but they don't want to touch the old one. They want growth, but they don't want to face the things holding them down. And so they stack new goals, new affirmations, new routines on top of a shaky base that was never designed to support them. Real transformation begins the moment you're willing to demolish what no longer serves you, to rip out the roots of limitation so you can plant something that lasts. Limiting beliefs are the first walls that must come down. They are the quiet lies that run in the background of your mind, the stories you have repeated for so long they sound like truth. I'm not good enough. People like me don't succeed. It's too late for me. I'll never change. These are not truths. They are opinions you adopted, often from failure, rejection, or someone else's influence. And yet they shape your decisions, your actions, and your destiny. As long as those beliefs remain standing, they will block every attempt at growth. You might push against them for a while, but eventually they push back harder. That's why demolition is necessary. You cannot decorate those walls. You cannot paint over them with positive thinking. You have to smash them to the ground and refuse to let them dictate your future. Habits are the second layer of the old structure. They are the behaviors you repeat so consistently that they become invisible, yet they form the architecture of your life. If you wake up every day reaching for your phone, numbing yourself with distraction, avoiding discomfort, you are reinforcing the old version of you without even realizing it. Habits are powerful because they are automatic, and if you don't take control of them, they control you. Demolition means identifying the habits that have chained you to the same results and breaking them apart, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels unnatural. The destruction of old habits is painful because the mind craves what is familiar, but without it, no new foundation can be laid. Stories are the deepest layer. They are the meaning you've attached to your life, the narratives you tell yourself about why things are the way they are. Maybe you've said, "I've always been unlucky," or "I can't trust people," or "nothing ever works out for me." These stories become cages, invisible prisons that keep you from stepping into your potential. You act in alignment with your story because your identity is tied to it. But stories are not reality, they are choices. They can be rewritten at any moment, but first, the old ones must be demolished. You must be willing to admit that the story you've been living by is not truth, it's simply repetition. And if you want transformation, you must let those old chapters burn so new ones can be written. Demolition is not easy. It feels like chaos because you're tearing down what you've known for so long. It feels like loss because you're letting go of identities, routines, and patterns that have become part of you. But what you must remember is that demolition is not destruction without purpose. It is clearing the space for something greater. Think of a city where old, decaying buildings are torn down. For a time, the ground looks empty, messy, uncertain. But only because that space is being prepared for something stronger, taller, more magnificent. Your life works the same way. The emptiness you feel when you let go of old beliefs is not a void, it is fertile ground. The discomfort you feel when you break habits is not punishment, it is preparation. The fear you feel when you let go of old stories is not weakness. It is the signal that transformation is happening. The mistake people make is trying to skip this stage. They want to construct without demolishing, to add without removing, to grow without letting go. But that's like trying to build a new house on top of a crumbling foundation. You might enjoy it for a while, but eventually the cracks will show, and everything you built will come crashing down. The demolition process is where character is forged. It's where you face the truth of what has been holding you back. It's where you develop the courage to let go of who you were in order to step into who you're becoming. Without it, transformation is temporary. With it, transformation is permanent. This process requires honesty. You have to look at your life without filters, without excuses, without sugarcoating. What beliefs have you carried that no longer serve you? What habits do you repeat that keep you small? What stories do you tell that keep you trapped? Honesty is the hammer that begins the demolition. Without it, you will keep protecting the very structures that hold you back. With it, you can finally swing hard enough to break them apart. Once the walls come down, the rebuilding can begin. But the rebuilding cannot happen if you're still trying to live in the rubble of the old. Many people sabotage their own transformation because they try to cling to pieces of the old life. They want to hold on to certain limiting beliefs because they feel safe. They want to keep certain habits because they're comfortable. They want to protect certain stories because they've worn them like armor for so long. But demolition means complete commitment. You can't tear down half the walls and expect a skyscraper to stand. You must be willing to let the old structure collapse completely so the new foundation can be laid without compromise. And when you do, something powerful happens. You discover that you were never the old structure at all. You are not your beliefs, you are not your habits, you are not your stories. You are the one who can choose them, change them, and destroy them. The real you is revealed not when you add more to your life, but when you strip away what was never truly you in the first place. That's the gift of demolition. It shows you your true power. The price of growth is discomfort. If you want the new life, you must let go of the familiar one. Growth is not easy, it is not comfortable, it is not predictable, because by its very nature growth pulls you out of what you know and pushes you into the unknown. The human mind craves certainty, safety, and stability, but transformation requires the opposite. It requires stepping into places where you cannot predict the outcome, where you cannot guarantee success, where you cannot rely on the old patterns that once kept you safe. And that tension between the comfort of the familiar and the challenge of the unfamiliar is where most people quit. They choose what they know, even if what they know is painful, because pain feels safer than uncertainty. But if you want to grow, if you want to experience the new life, you must be willing to surrender the comfort of what you've always done. Think about a seed. A seed must break apart, it must crack open, it must stop being what it was in order to become what it's meant to be. That breaking apart is uncomfortable, but without it, there is no growth. Human beings work the same way. We say we want change, but we resist the cracking open, we resist the uncertainty, we resist the discomfort. Yet it is only through that discomfort that growth emerges. The gym is uncomfortable, but it builds strength. Honest conversations are uncomfortable, but they build trust. Facing fears is uncomfortable, but it builds courage. Every step of growth has discomfort as its price tag, and the people who achieve transformation are the ones who are willing to pay it. Letting go of the familiar feels like a kind of death. You are leaving behind habits, environments, and identities that feel like home, even if that home is broken. The brain is wired to hold onto familiarity because it equates it with survival. Even toxic relationships feel safer than the unknown of being alone. Even a job you hate feels safer than the uncertainty of pursuing a dream. Even limiting beliefs feel safer than the vulnerability of believing in yourself. This is why people get stuck. They cling to the old not because it's good, but because it's known. The familiar becomes a prison you decorate with comfort, but it's still a prison. The new life requires sacrifice. You cannot carry the old into the new. You cannot cling to comfort and expect growth. If you want new results, you must embrace new actions, and those actions will stretch you. They will feel strange, they will feel awkward, they will challenge your self-image, and they will demand more from you than you've ever given. But that is how transformation works. Growth does not come from repeating what you already know. It comes from reaching for what you've never done. The discomfort of growth is temporary, but the pain of staying stuck lasts a lifetime. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you reinforce the old patterns, and those patterns become chains. You wake up years later wondering why nothing has changed, why the dreams you once had are still only dreams. And the answer is simple, because comfort was chosen over progress. Growth is demanding, but it is also rewarding. The pain of change is sharp and temporary, but the pain of regret is dull and permanent. There is a part of you that already knows this. Deep down, you know the moments in your life where you felt alive, where you felt proud, where you felt unstoppable were the moments you leaned into discomfort. They were the moments you did something you were afraid to do, something that pushed you out of your routine, something that forced you to rise above who you were yesterday. Those moments of discomfort became turning points, proof that you could be more than you thought you could be. The new life you are chasing is built entirely out of those moments. The challenge is that discomfort often masquerades as danger. The body resists it, the mind creates excuses, the heart races, and everything in you screams to turn back. But danger and discomfort are not the same thing. Danger means you are at risk. Discomfort means you are growing. Most of the time when you feel uncomfortable, it is not because you are in danger. It is because you are stepping into a new space where your potential is being stretched. The key is to learn to reframe discomfort not as a signal to retreat, but as a signal to lean in. And this is where courage comes in. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. Growth requires courage because it requires choosing the path of discomfort again and again. It means facing rejection. It means risking failure. It means walking into uncertainty without guarantees. But every time you choose courage over comfort, you expand. You discover new strength, new confidence, new abilities that were always inside you but dormant until discomfort awakened them. Letting go of the familiar also means letting go of parts of yourself that no longer serve you. The version of you that avoids risk cannot come with you into the new life. The version of you that makes excuses cannot come with you. The version of you that plays small cannot come with you. These old versions of you will fight to stay. They will try to drag you back into comfort, but they must be released. You must decide that the pain of staying the same is greater than the discomfort of growth. And once you do, you begin to experience a shift. Discomfort becomes less of an enemy and more of a teacher. You start to see that every moment of unease is an opportunity. Every challenge is a classroom. Every risk is a lesson. Every failure is feedback. The familiar kept you safe, but it also kept you small. Discomfort feels unsafe, but it is the only doorway into expansion. The truth is, everything you desire is on the other side of discomfort. The body you want, the relationships you want, the success you want, the fulfillment you want, they all require you to step into spaces that stretch you beyond your comfort zone. No one drifts into greatness. No one stumbles into transformation. It is always chosen, and the choice is always uncomfortable. The price of growth has never changed. It has always been discomfort. Your new life will cost you your old one, but that is the greatest trade you will ever make. Most people want the new without letting go of the old. They want to transform while still clinging to who they used to be, but it doesn't work that way.
The life you want, the person you want to become, the future you envision, all of it demands that you leave behind the version of you that no longer fits. It is a transaction, and the currency is your old identity.
You cannot keep your excuses and claim your potential. You cannot keep your limitations and embrace your strength. You cannot keep your fears and live in courage. The price will always be the same. You must give up the old life in order to gain the new one. This truth is difficult because the old life is familiar. It is what you know. It is where you are comfortable. It is built from your habits, your patterns, your routines, your relationships, and your beliefs. Even if it is painful, it is predictable, and the mind craves predictability. But the comfort of predictability is also the trap that keeps you from growth.
If you want to become someone new, if you want to step into a life of expansion, you must be willing to release what feels safe but keeps you small. This is why most people never change. They are unwilling to make the trade.
They say they want freedom, but they hold on to the chains. They say they want transformation, but they refuse to bury the old self. The cost is not small. It may mean leaving behind relationships that no longer support your growth. It may mean letting go of environments that drain you instead of feeding you. It may mean breaking habits that numb you and facing the discomfort of building new ones. It may mean abandoning the stories you've told yourself for years about who you are and what you are capable of.
It may mean sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment. This is not easy, but it is necessary because you cannot carry the old life with you into the new one. The weight will hold you back, the patterns will sabotage you, the identity will anchor you to the past.
And yet, when you decide to pay the price, when you let go of the old life fully, you discover that the trade is worth it. What you gain is clarity. What you gain is strength. What you gain is freedom.
The old life was built on survival, on fear, on settling for less than you are capable of. The new life is built on vision, on courage, on stepping into the fullness of who you are meant to be. It is not just a different set of circumstances. It is a different version of you, one that no longer negotiates with limitations, one that no longer accepts excuses, one that no longer settles for mediocrity. The process feels like loss at first. It feels like something is being taken away from you, like pieces of your identity are being stripped, like you are walking away from what makes you who you are. But over time you realize that what you are losing was never truly you. The fear was never you. The doubt was never you. The excuses were never you. Those were layers you put on to survive, masks you wore to protect yourself, but they are not your true identity. When you trade the old life for the new one, you are not losing yourself. You are finding yourself. The danger is that the old life will call to you. It will try to pull you back. The people who knew you as the old you may resist your change. They may mock it. They may challenge it, because your growth makes them uncomfortable. The habits you once relied on will whisper for your attention, offering the illusion of comfort. The stories you've rehearsed will try to replay themselves in your mind. This is why you must be ruthless in your commitment. The trade only works if you go all in. You cannot dip one foot into the new life while keeping the other anchored in the old one. You cannot halfway transform. You must make the full exchange. The new life is not handed to you. It is built brick by brick, choice by choice, decision by decision. Every day you choose between the old life and the new one. Every time you choose discipline over laziness, you pay the price and move closer to the new life. Every time you choose courage over fear, you pay the price and move closer to the new life. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you pay the price and move closer to the new life. The exchange happens not in a single moment, but in thousands of moments, until one day you realize the old life is gone, and the new one has become your reality. What makes this trade the greatest you will ever make is that what you give up was never serving you, and what you gain is everything you've ever wanted. You give up mediocrity to gain greatness. You give up fear to gain freedom. You give up excuses to gain results. You give up the false comfort of the past to gain the limitless possibility of the future. It is not really loss, it is liberation. It is not really sacrifice, it is transformation. When you understand this, you stop resisting the price. You stop fighting the discomfort of letting go. You embrace it because you know that every piece of the old life you release is making space for something greater. The old life is like a house built on sand, fragile, unstable, unable to weather the storms. The new life is built on rock, strong, unshakable, designed to stand the test of time. But to build on rock, you must tear down the house on sand. You cannot live in both at once. So you stand at the crossroads every day, faced with the choice between holding onto the old or stepping into the new. And the only way forward is to make the trade, to decide that the old life, no matter how familiar, no matter how comfortable, no matter how safe it feels, is no longer enough. To decide that your potential, your vision, your purpose are worth the price. To decide that the new life will be yours, because you are willing to pay what it costs.